Good afternoon, I'm Jaime Huertas, and I'm going to be the moderator of this session, which is the last one of the table, because it's getting late and the day starts to be heavy. And we are going to see the gvSIG, and this is going to be presented by Manuel Estebeluca from the University Castilla-La Mancha. When you are ready, you can. Well, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the gvSIG Association for inviting me to present this work I'm doing. The case I'm going to introduce is related to the loss of land, or the decay of land, the problem of the erosion, the USLE model, and this is the parametric model which is used in order to calculate the loss of land using gvSIG software, and the results which are obtained. Regarding the problem of erosion, well, this is a very important issue, because at a human scale, this is a renewable resource, although at a human scale can be considered which is not renewable. In order to achieve 10 centimeters of soil, we need 1,000 years. So this is why it is so important in order to know the functions of the ecosystems. We can generate problems like these terrible problems of erosion. This is another picture. This is another area with huge problems of erosion. And this is the USLE model that uses many parameters in order to modelize this to model this land or this soil loss, and we should know which are the most difficult areas in order to be able to reduce these losses of soil. These are these 6 parameters. The result would be the losses per ton, and this is a result obtained by multiplying the R factor, the K factor, which is also the LS factor, which is related to the on the B factor, which is related to the practices in the agricultural uses. So then we calculate some rasters, and then we obtain the soil losses here in the calculation. Based on each of those factors, we can build a raster layer. Then with the calculator you can multiply them, and then you obtain the results layer. For instance, the first factor, which is the R factor, the rain factor, that is obtained from this application, in which then we see that this factor, we could put that in an F table, that we can import that in gvSIG, and based on this table we could build the raster F, and we have the factor R in Ellín, in Albacete, and then we have an icon, and here we have the K factor, and then we would build a raster for this factor within our basin, and then we would have the factor related to the slope, and then we could build the LS factor, introducing the formula that you have, and that would and then that would inform about the LS factors. And this is the LS factor for the basin that we are using. And that depends on the soil, and based on this cartography, this factor. And here we would have that and the P factor that has to do with the conservation practices that depends on the level of culture of the soil, and whether this would have that would have different values depending on the different factors. That is the raster for the P factor of this area, and could have the final result. These are the soil losses based on the USLE model. So we have been using the USLE model to calculate this. Then we would have the red or yellow areas which have higher losses of soil, 200 tons per year, and we would say that after 10 tons this is already an intolerable or unacceptable loss that we should do something to improve it. We are speaking about tons per hectare and year, and then we could buy a hydrotechnic infrastructures, improvement of the cultural practices, and many others in order to correct the problems of erosion. And based on this calculation, this classification, we could develop the proposals. Everything over 10 tons should be submitted to actions of the type that we have mentioned. This is another table. This is another way of ordering or planning the planning of the forest basin, and that's all by me. If you have any questions. Yes, I do. Manuel has to go to Albacete, so if you have any questions, then we are not going to wait until the end. Is there any question for him, because he has to leave in advance? He has to leave now. I wanted to ask you something in this study that you have been doing. That was your own initiative within the university, or is or has it been required by somebody else? Is it possible that this can be this section of the study, because within the hydrological restoration which are done, there is a part which is calculation, which is the erosion, and any actions that have to be taken. So this is a part of the restoration processes, and this is under the initiative of the Junta de Comunidades from Castilla-La Mancha, which is an agreement with the Ministry of Agriculture, and they are in charge of the restoration of the soil. So this is a part of the hydrological and forestry recuperation project, and this is a very interesting tool in order to find out which are the areas which demand more attention, and this is not belonging, and within the forestry models, this is where we study which are the soils in urgent demand of restoration. Are there any questions? So thank you for being so short, really, and this is very useful for the agricultural field. I must say that is extremely useful, and usually you were doing that with tables, values, but being able to see it in the cartography is extremely useful for managers, technicians, and everybody involved in the protection of the soil.